Although big and strong-looking, this Alaskan Husky is actually quite fragile. Do you remember that Alaskan Husky? Even though he's a giant, he'd start whimpering when other dogs teased him. Or when he'd climb onto a table and get stuck, his little legs would go crazy as he let out a series of pitiful whimpers. That's our Alaskan Husky named Champion. He might look like a tough guy with his massive body, but his heart is as small as a pea. Any noise or movement can send him into a panic. For example, while playing happily with his mom, his dad would suddenly push the vacuum cleaner. Before the vacuum cleaner even touched him, the noise scared him so much that he ran away. And the cat on the shelf was looking at him with contempt.
一边打扫卫生呢，然后，哎呀！
Not only loud noises, but even small sounds can terrify him. Like when he was sleeping peacefully under his mom's chair, she would suddenly put her foot down, and he'd start barking loudly. Luckily, his mom understood that her little baby had a tiny heart, and knew how to calm him down.
妈，你动什么动？真的吓死宝宝了。
To Champion, the world is a terrifying place filled with looming threats that dwarf his tiny existence. But sometimes, he scares his parents too. One time, he stood on the balcony barking at the wind like a banshee. And his parents thought he was trying to scare off a flock of birds or something. Sometimes, this big ol' Alaskan Husky is his own worst enemy. He's always getting himself into funny situations. Despite his big size, Champion loves to crawl into small spaces like under the shelf. And if he knocks something over, he'll run around like a headless chicken.
什么玩意？怎么吓我一跳？哎呀！
This isn't something new. Champion's been like that since he was a puppy. When he first came home, he was always bullied by the orange cat and couldn't fight back. Over time, they became playmates, but if he sees another cat outside, he'll just cry. Even though Champion's a scaredy-cat and gets bullied sometimes, this boy is always happy. He's like, no worries, man, life's good. His face is always so cute, you just want to kiss it. His parents often take Champion on adventures, like to the beach or the mountains. Even though he's a bit scared, he always has his parents by his side. Well, that's just how he is. As long as he's happy and smiling, that's all that matters.
A moment of the baby husky being taught to howl like a wolf by its owner has left everyone in awe. It's like they say, like mother, like pup. Husky parents everywhere are green with envy after watching this video. The story goes that a mother husky just gave birth to a beautiful puppy. Wanting her puppy to be as intelligent and majestic as her, howling like a wolf just like its mother, the owner decided to start training it from a very young age. This has left everyone watching in awe and admiration. Despite its young age, the puppy howled exceptionally well, its voice was perfect, and it sounded just like a grown-up wolf. Seeing how majestic its mother is, it's no wonder that the puppy can howl like a wolf. It must have inherited the wolf genes. But yours? Probably just as playful, maybe even more so. Watch this video and then take a good look at your own silly and playful husky. I bet you'll laugh until your sides hurt.
Rescuing adorable and friendly stray cats. That day, a guy was taking a leisurely stroll when he was suddenly stopped in his tracks by a tiny robber. It was a stray cat, usually quite shy, but today it was standing boldly in the middle of the path. The cat was meowing loudly, its big round eyes fixed on the guy, as if to say, "Stop right there, or I'll scratch you." Before he could react, a heroine appeared. It was the cat's pregnant wife, her belly as big as a balloon. She gently approached the guy with her eyes soft. At that moment, the guy realized what was going on. The robber cat was trying to protect his family. Despite his shy nature, the cat had bravely stood up to a human. In reality, the cat wasn't trying to rob anything. He just wanted to ask for some food for his pregnant wife. Looking at the beautiful cat couple, the guy felt a pang of sadness. They must have been loved by someone at one point to have such soft fur and clear eyes. And yet, now they were living on the streets, not knowing where their next meal would come from. Thinking about the pregnant cat having to fend for herself, the guy couldn't bear it. He went back to his house, grabbed a big can of cat food, and brought it out to the couple. The mother cat happily devoured the food, while the father cat sat beside her, looking proud as if he had just won a great battle. Not long after, a swarm of stray cats arrived, drawn by the delicious aroma of food. They approached cautiously, their tiny forms gathering near the man. Instead of driving them away, he welcomed them, inviting them to join him in a feast. Among them was a particularly striking cat. It was mostly black with a white head and a little black nose. It was clear that these stray cats were very well behaved. After their meal, one of them, seemingly expressing gratitude, made a gesture towards the man. The black cat with the white head and face, which had earlier seemed so worried, now rubbed its side against the man's leg, purring softly. The other cats, as if following its lead, began to gather around, rubbing their heads against his hands or simply sitting quietly at his feet. The man was touched by their show of appreciation. The man noticed that the cat that had initially blocked his path hadn't partaken in the feast. When other cats ventured too close, this tiny robber would fiercely defend its territory, its protective instincts evident. It was clear that it was guarding its mate. The man made a wish that all stray cats might enjoy the luxury of a full meal each day.
This playful old lady snuck up behind her sleeping pet dog. The black puppy was still sound asleep. Her action made the white puppy next to it look confused. She wanted to touch the black puppy, but it woke up with a start and quickly ran away in fright. You might think she's too old to be pulling pranks like that, but the truth is quite different.
Among the 4 pet dogs, the black one is the apple of her eye, but also her greatest worry. Over the past 5 years, from a tiny puppy, the black dog has grown into a tall, strong boy. However, his affection for her has always maintained a certain distance. No matter how hard she tries, no matter how much she pets him, he always avoids her, his round eyes looking at her with caution. One afternoon, she grilled some delicious meat. Overcome by the delicious aroma, her black dog lay a few feet away, drooling profusely as he stared at the meat in her hand. But even though he wanted it so badly, he was too scared to come closer. So, she placed the meat on the ground, stepped back, and observed the dog cautiously approach, sniff the meat, and then eat it with delight. The truth is, the old lady is the apple of the black dog's eye. He's always by her side, watching her every move. When she's getting ready to work in the fields, he also tags along. The old lady doesn't want to let it go with her and tries to shoo him away, but he just pretends to leave and then sneaks back. He keeps a safe distance, watching over her. It's strange though. He loves her so much, but he won't let anyone touch him. 5 years ago, her husband passed away suddenly. The old lady was heartbroken and spent days in bed crying, and didn't even notice the black dog. He didn't want to bother her. As time went on, he grew older and got used to keeping his distance, quietly watching over her. The old lady was doing better, but her dog was still struggling. She noticed that the dog had recently developed some bumps on its eyes and was worried about its health, so she invited an animal behaviorist to her home. After a while of talking, the expert asked the old lady to lie down inside the house, then placed pork around her, using food to gradually lure the dog inside. She tried to interact with it as much as possible. The room was small, but the black dog still kept its distance from her. Then, the expert brought a blanket to cover half of the room, so they could be in a smaller space. Now, the black dog had nowhere to hide. Its eyes looked at the old lady, full of worry and curiosity. The old lady put on a glove and slowly touched the dog. Both of them held their breath and waited. Then a miracle happened. The black dog didn't struggle or flinch. It let her pet it, and its eyes gradually closed. He still laid, enjoying her gentle strokes. After so many years of separation, the old lady finally touched the soft fur of her beloved dog. She gently removed the ticks from his body, feeling full of happiness. The old lady choked up and shared, "For 5 years, this is the first time I've been so close to him. I hope we will always be together."
Once upon a time, in a bustling city, there lived a tiny, adorable kitten. This little fur ball had a serious problem. It was starving. So hungry, in fact, that it decided to block the path of a man, hoping to snag a bite of his food. The man, however, wasn't having any of it. He even pointed his phone at the kitten, as if to say, "I'm taking a picture of you, you little troublemaker." This made the kitten even angrier. It seemed to be mumbling something like, "Hey, at least turn on a filter." It was a real standoff. The kitten refused to back down, and the man wasn't budging either. Even a stray cat passing by stopped to watch the drama unfold. From its expression, it probably thought, "Wow, that kitten is so cute." The man couldn't help but wonder how this beautiful little creature ended up alone on the streets. Where was its mom? It must have been a tough life, going from meal to meal, always hungry. Thankfully, after a lot of drama, the kitten finally realized that it wasn't going to win. It looked up at the man with big, pitiful eyes, as if to say, "Please, I'm hungry." The man couldn't resist. Even though he didn't have a lot of money, he bought some pâté for the little kitten. These stray cats were clearly new to the culinary delights of meat. After sniffing around the can for what seemed like forever, the kitten finally took a bite, only to discover it wasn't as easy as it looked. It struggled and fumbled, trying to figure out how to eat this strange new food. Eventually, it shook its head in frustration and gave up. The man couldn't resist the kitten's adorable, pitiful look. He reached out to pet it, but hesitated, worried the kitten might not appreciate the gesture. To his surprise, the kitten didn't flinch. In fact, it sat down and looked up at him with big, hopeful eyes. The man couldn't resist. He gently picked up the kitten, which seemed surprisingly cooperative. However, there was a hint of defiance in its eyes, as if it were saying, "Fine, but I'm only doing this because I like you." The more the man looked at the kitten, the more he found himself smiling. He couldn't bear the thought of the little creature living on the streets, so he decided to take it home and raise it. First, he checked the kitten's gender. To his surprise, it was a feisty little female. Even though she had a wild streak, he couldn't help but adore her. The kitten curiously explored the house, completely at ease in her new surroundings. Even the man's other cat was taken aback. It shook its head and thought to itself, "My owner has brought home a real wild child." The kitten seemed to understand that its days of wandering were over. It was clear that being cute had its advantages. The once feisty kitten had found a loving and gentle home. Its future looked bright.
Woo, woo, woo.